All right, you're welcome to Storytelling Codes 101. Yes, we're back. Yes, we had a little bit of glitches due to copyright issues, and that's the reason why it's important to note that this is strictly for educational purposes. And so every video on here is strictly for educational purposes. And today we're going to be talking about Inglourious Basterds by Quentin Tarantino. Let's get straight to business. Great. Our main character, protagonist, Colonel Hans Lander, encroaches on the home of Monsieur Lapadite, who is secretly abhorring Jews. Now, the Colonel.
Je suis Perrier Lapadite.
C'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, Monsieur Lapadite. Je suis le colonel SS Hans Lander.
Is renowned for his proficiency in Jew hunting.
The feature that makes me such an effective hunter of the Jews is, as opposed to most German soldiers, I can think like a Jew, where they can only think like a German. More precisely, a German soldier.
Though not a German soldier, he works for the Nazis and embraces the false belief that Jewish lives are worthless due to their supposed lack of dignity.
Because I'm aware what tremendous feats human beings are capable of once they abandon dignity.
He even likens them to
what
rats.
attributes the Jews share with the beast, it would be that of the rat.
I may sound repetitive throughout these sessions, but I will be candid. There is no character without a belief. Without a belief, there is no real motivation, and thus there is no character. Now, in Lander's case, his narcissistic traits, which are the moral qualities, stems from his false belief in superiority over the Jewish race.
May I smoke my pipe as well?
Please, go on. Make yourself at home.
Now, his belief reflects the story world. And that is because those around him concur with the lie of Nazi superiority.
You're sheltering enemies of the state, are you not?
Yes.
You're sheltering them underneath your floorboards, aren't you?
Yes.
Point out to me the areas where they're hiding.
You see, the protagonist's belief must be revealed in the opening plot point. It's called introduction, exposition. You're exposing a character, which typically exposes the protagonist's defining belief through their thoughts and actions. Remember, mental, moral qualities. Now, with this premise, what belief must characterize the antagonist? The antagonist must embody the belief that negates or opposes the false belief of the protagonist and the story world. And that's where we have our antagonist in this narrative, Lieutenant Aldo Ray, who believes that the Nazis possess no humanity and deserve to live and die undignified as lesser humans.
As a bushwhacking guerrilla army, we're going to be doing one thing and one thing only. Killing Nazis. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I sure as hell didn't come down from the goddamn Smoky Mountains, cross 5,000 miles of water, fight my way through half of Sicily, and jump out of a fucking aeroplane to teach the Nazis lessons in humanity. Nazi ain't got no humanity. They're the foot soldiers of a Jew-hating, mass-murdering maniac, and they need to be destroyed. That's why any and every sumbitch we find wearing a Nazi uniform, they're gonna die.
You see? That's a counter belief there. Yeah. And he has recruited soldiers. Now the soldiers are called the Inglourious Basterds to carry out this mission. This opposing belief directly challenges the false belief of Nazi superiority upheld by Colonel Hans Landa, who serves Hitler.
Kennen Sie schon das neueste Gerücht, das ihr in Ihrem angstgetriebenen Wahn verbreiten? Der meine Männer mit einem Prügel totschlägt, den man Bärenjude nennt, soll ein Golem sein.
Now, reports of the bastard exploits spread fear among the Nazis, undermining their false belief.
Wir werden kein Wort darüber verlieren. Kein einziges Detail. Ihre Einheit geriet in einen Hinterhalt, sie konnten fliehen. Kein weiteres Wort. Ja, mein Führer. Hat man sie ebenso gebrandmarkt wie die anderen Überlebenden? Ja, mein Führer.
So I'm gonna give you this something you can't take off.
Thus, this inciting incident establishes the clash of beliefs. Conflict, drama. That is how you hook the audience. That is how you emotionally hook the audience. Now, the action begins to rise in the second act. The false belief is further exposed.
J'adore votre cinéma.
Merci.
Il est à vous?
Il m'appartient?
Oui.
Oui.
Et comment se fait-il qu'une jeune fille comme vous possède un cinéma?
Ma tante me l'a cédé.
Merci d'organiser une soirée allemande.
Shoshana's honor debunks the false belief because her position proves that a Jewish life has worth. She is even escorted to meet Goebbels, that is Hitler's second in command, because a smitten officer and star actor insist on hosting the grand premiere at her cinema.
Das ist ein deutscher Abend. Eine deutsche Veranstaltung. Ein deutsches Fest. Dieser Abend ist für Sie gedacht. Für mich. Für das deutsche Militär. Den Führungsstab. Ihre Familien und Freunde. Man sollte nur diejenigen reinlassen, die sich von dem Geschehen auf der Leinwand auch wirklich bewegen lassen.
Now, this exclusive screening will host the German High Command, and only one person is tasked with fumigating the environment beforehand. Yes, you guessed right. Nobody else but Colonel Hans Landa.
Landa, da sind Sie ja.
Emmanuel, voici le colonel SS Landa, qui sera chargé de la sécurité pour la première.
Now, Hans Landa suspects Emmanuel Mimu, but his false belief blinds him. He cannot reconcile Shoshana's current status with that of a Jew. You see, this internal conflict
Et donc, Emmanuel, expliquez-moi, comment se fait-il qu'une jeune femme comme vous en arrive à posséder un cinéma?
leads him to convince himself she is French as she poses. Anyway, he scrutinizes her table manners.
Connaissant le ministre du Reich comme je le connais, je suis en mesure d'affirmer qu'il ne voudrait pas que la réussite ou l'échec de son illustre soirée dépende de la prouesse d'un nègre. C'est acceptable?
Loyalty to a black employee.
Cigarette? Elles ne sont pas françaises. Elles sont allemandes.
And whether she smokes German cigarettes. Ultimately, he dismisses the suspicion because he cannot believe a Jew could be so composed and honorable.
Il y avait une autre chose que je voulais vous demander. ma vie, impossible de m'en souvenir. Enfin, bon, ce ne devait pas être important. À ce soir.
You see, his false belief traps him, and the narrative aims to dismantle the lie of German superiority. Now, this dismantling comes through a double agent.
There's your rendezvous with our double agent. She'll take it from there. She's the one who's going to get you into the premiere. It will be you, her, and 2 German-born members of the Bastards. She's also made all the other arrangements you're going to need. How will I know her? I suspect that won't be too much trouble for you. Your contact is Bridget von Hammersmark.
Bridget von Hammersmark. The German movie star is working for England.
Even Lieutenant Hickox is surprised that a German is behind Operation Kino, which aims at eliminating the German High Command.
Yes, for the last 2 years now. One could even say that Operation Kino was her brainchild.
The false belief is overturned. How else, when a German star believes that the German life is not superior? This is where the midpoint sequence begins. The truth of the idea is now revealed. Now, Lieutenant Hickox and the Bastards disguise themselves as German soldiers to rendezvous with the double agent.
Das Kino ist ausgetauscht worden.
Warum?
Das weiß niemand, sollte aber kein wirkliches Problem sein. Das neue Kino ist wesentlich kleiner als das Ritz. Welchen Sprengstoff ihr alles für das Ritz mitgebracht hat, müsste dort doppelte Wirkung haben. Andere Neuigkeit ist kolossal. Also lasst euch nichts anmerken. Der Führer wird dazu
Papa. Bitte nur gerade vielleicht würden Sie meinem Sohn zum Geburtstag ein Autogramm geben?
Aber natürlich gerne Wilhelm.
Well, unexpectedly, they encounter actual German soldiers, leading to chaos.
And what would that be?
Steglitz. Say auf Wiedersehen to your Nazi boss.
This sequence underscores that counterparts cannot coexist, as Nazi ideology has poisoned trust and made coexistence impossible.
Gun, I thought we had us a deal.
We do have a deal. Now get the gun and go.
Not so fast. We only got a deal. We trust each other. And a Mexican standoff ain't trust.
You need guns on me for it to be a Mexican standoff.
You got guns on us. You decide to shoot, we're dead. Up top, they got grenades. They drop them down here, you're dead. That's a Mexican standoff, and that was not the deal. No trust, no deal.
Wilhelm, an Austrian-born Jew turned German sergeant, and German-born bastards blurred the lines of identity.
Heißt Wilhelm Wicki. Das ist ein österreichischer Jude, der in die Vereinigten Staaten emigriert ist, wie die Lage begonnen hat.
Hans Landa himself reveals
Das
this.
sind die beiden deutschstämmigen Mitglieder der Bastards. Die sind bekannt dafür, deutsche Uniformen anzuziehen, um Einheiten in Hinterhalt zu locken.
So at the end of the midpoint sequence, the film's critical idea emerges. The human race is indistinguishable, and no deal can be made with the Nazis for portraying the lie that opposes this truth. You see, the midpoint sequence ends with the realization of the German double agent by Hans Landa. At this moment, the protagonists must recognize that no race or individual is inherently superior. We are all alike, authentic and false, sneaky and devious, hawk and rat.
Bridget von Hammersmark.
But this is where it gets interesting. If the main character realizes the truth in this moment, on time, there's the possibility that they can change themselves and change their society, and everybody's happy, right? But Hans Landa refuses to change. He refuses to even acknowledge the truth.
Oberstlander, es ist lange her. Schneidig wie und je.
Also, was ist mit dem wunderschönen Bein geschehen?
Ein Nebenprodukt der Arschtritte, die sie in der deutschen Filmwelt austeilen, zweifelsohne.
Sparen Sie sich Ihre Komplimente, Sie alter Hund. Ich kenne zu viele von Ihren früheren Eroberungen, als dass ich in Ihren Honigtopf treten könnte.
Na, im Ernst, was ist passiert?
Tja, ich habe mich, dummerweise muss ich eingestehen, im Bergsteigen versucht.
He cannot reconcile the fact that a German celebrity considers the German high command, worthless and is a snitch. This static character already sets him up for failure because, remember, he is unaware of the initial breach in his proficient security by Shoshana.
La grande bataille du tireur embusqué arrive vers la fin de la 3e bobine. Notre film arrive à la 4e bobine. Donc vers le milieu de la 3e, tu descends, tu fermes la salle à clé. T'attends mon signal. Mon signal. Tu mets le feu.
His denial persists until it collapses.
Voila. What's that American expression? If the shoe fits, you must wear it.
Was jetzt, Oberst?
Now, he cannot change or alter his fate. Van Hammersmark, the German star, destroys his belief. And the irony is, she is German herself. His only plan now is to make a deal for himself. But we already established there's no deal made with the Nazis.
Ooh, that's a bingo. Is that the way you say it? That's a bingo.
You just say bingo.
Bingo! How fun! But I digress. Where were we? Yeah, make a deal.
His desperation only counts for the heroes who are against the Nazis.
Moment eintreffen. Dann count's.
By the way, that last part's actually true.
When the final battle erupts,
A message for Germany. That you are all going to die.
Schluss! Aus! Projektor!
I want you to look deep into the face of the Jew who is going to do it.
Grüß mich, ich weiß nicht, was hier los ist. Das gehört nicht dazu.
Burn Peter.
Oui, Shoshana.
the Nazis under his guard, born and die undignified. You see, the villain protagonist likewise suffers that same undignified treatment reserved for Nazis in Tarantino's narrative. The idea remains concrete. No deal can be made with the Nazis who fail to realize that the human race is indistinguishable and no one is superior over the other. I'm going to see you again in the next episode. But until then, remember.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.